Hi guys, I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. We're doing a new Trakker series with myself and John, and we're going to go to some of the absolute iconic venues that I've fished over my angling life. And today we've come to one of my old stomping grounds, which is Manor Farm, and on the Linear complex. And you know, I can't believe it, the way it's changed. I last fished it in, well, I tried to fish it in 2008. I came down with my son, Jamie, after a bit of a prolonged absence, I must say. And I thought, what's going on here? It was like Nebworth. There was people everywhere. And I said to Jamie, don't worry, we'll get a swim, we'll have a great time, we'll catch some fish. It was between Christmas and New Year, 2008. And we couldn't get a swim on the whole complex. So we went away with our tail between our legs and had to go home. So it was a quick 400-mile round trip. Oh, thereabouts, 350 I guess it was actually, I'm exaggerating. And first time I've been back. And all this foliage didn't exist when I was there. It was just small bushes or a complete bare bank down this. We're in pegs 1 and 2, by the way. Me and Johnny, we did the fair thing, because when I fish with people, doesn't matter what's going on, it might be a little bit about what I'm getting up to, but the angling is very fair. So we didn't have a coin between us, no surprises there. So John found a stone and he did the old hands behind the back thing, and I'd only looked at the place for half an hour perhaps before with him, and I was suddenly posed with the question, do I go swim 1 or 2? And the sun's out. When I left sunny Manchester, it was absolutely pissing down, as is normal for a Manchester summer. So I was expecting to be wearing waterproofs and all that, and John's got his shorts on and his t-shirt, and I've got all my more cold weather stuff. Anyway, we did the whole thing and I won. So I was a bit stumped, I didn't know which swim to go in, because you know, there's not much to go off and it's all changed. So purely because the wind's hacking in and I've got some shallow water, I decided to go in 1. And then old Maker wound us up as well. When John was speaking to him, he says, oh, you've stitched Frank up, have you? I thought, oh, what have I done? Anyway, we'll get on with it. And as we go through the series, we're going to be going to some of the old waters that I used to fish. There's so many. And we might even go to Reedsby at one stage, which will be a first because no one's ever filmed on there. So that's further down the line. I look forward to that. And yeah, let's see how it goes and get cracking. And I'm going to love this. It's great. Feeling good. You can probably see I'm a little bit flustered here. We've got an absolute shed load of fish in the corner in my swim. The sun came up before and there must be 25 fish in there at least. And I said to John, listen, let's not mess about, let's fish on the surface. And I said, let's get a rod each and just get control of jazzed up and let's get going and both share it. So John's just been feeding while I'm hurriedly trying to get a rig together. And with a bit of luck, we've got some gulls getting involved now, but you never know, might be able to nick a quick bite here. So keep you posted and we'll film it as we're going. And it's looking pretty interesting to say the least. Very exciting. So yeah, let's see what happens. Well, as I alluded to, me and Johnny had 1 out each. We'd only just put them in and we're taking it in turns rotating. And I chose a washed out boilie, a brown one that looked just like the washed out mixers down there. And a bit of a lump's just come up and just snaffled it straight away. I thought, wow, we kind of expected it, but I love it when a plan comes together. Ooh, Jesus Christ, it's having a scrap. First bit of floater fishing I've done for ages. It's so satisfying, fantastic. I think it's quite a good fish, this. Seemed to have a bit of size to it, didn't it? Big ball of weed on its head, that's handy. Stop it from seeing us where it's... oh, come on, you bastard. Get in that. Oh, it's not a bad one, John. Splendid. Hey, first one of the Trakker journey, and it's not took long, has it, mate? That's great. Good company as well, fantastic. Right, there we go. First one of the Trakker experience. Hope it's the first of many. It will be. 27.14 it weighed. So yeah, what a scrapper. Mega. Very, very pleased with that. Yeah, nice. I thought it was going to be bigger than that actually, because we've seen its head come out and it sort of torpedoed straight onto the hook bait, you know. Fantastic sight. Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, that was a good start. So there's still some fish present in the swim, so I'll do a little bit more surface fishing. The clouds come over, unfortunately, and it kind of seems to split the fish up when you get a load of cloud. But I think there'll be a bit of sun comes later. But we'll give it an hour or two surface fishing because it's so enjoyable, and then I'll start working on perhaps zigs, subsurface if the fish are still in the area. Otherwise, I'm going to start prepping and checking out the spots to get a couple of spots for the fishing on the bottom tonight or this evening. And it's all changed since I fished this place. I didn't actually fish this swim that much as it happened. It used to be very sought after here. I remember the bailiff used to turn on the pipe and it's put a surge of water in, and it was like a magnet. The fish used to come corralling in as soon as that water was coming in. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And I've come well prepped, and might try tiger nuts on one rod actually. I checked that they're allowed, and a lot of people sort of don't use tigers. They prefer to do a boilie approach, or you know, hemp and corn and stuff like that. But I've had a bit of a renaissance using tigers and enjoying it, so I'll give that a go on one rod to say the least. But for now, I'll press on with the surface fishing and see if we can get another one. Alright guys, well, it's about 8 o'clock in the evening now, and coming to the close of the day I suppose. Looking forward to tonight. I think got 3 rods on decent spots. I don't know this swim, as I was saying, so I've had to check out the bottom, and probably made more noise than I would have wanted, because you know what it's like, there's a lot of weed on here and I don't know the spots, so I've had to do a bit of markering and stuff. But I put one over towards that line of trees over there in about 5 feet at the bottom of this shelf, and I think with this warm weather we might get a visit on that one tonight. And I got the catapult out and just did a spread of boilies, and then I've spommed on the other 2. And I've actually tried the thing I was talking about before with the Mediclay, so you're getting quite a big cloud on it. In fact, you'd probably laugh underneath this top. It looks like a painter's radio. I'm covered in it, so yeah, I'm going to get some looks when I'm going home, that's for sure, after 3 days. Anyway, no more fish to report. I had that one on the float sort of fairly pronto, and then you know, I've been getting used to some of the new kit actually, and I've got a new bivvy here which is fabulous. Pretty chuffed with that, and so we'll see what tonight brings, and hopefully it'll work. And I think John's on the money as well. He's had fish showing near him. He's fishing further out than I am. I'm fishing, you know, relatively modest ranges, quite close, because catapult range with the boilies. So each one that I've spotted on, I've put, you know, 15 pouchfuls of bait on each. So it's a nice little spread. See what happens with that, and then hopefully we'll have something to show you in the morning. So let's see what happens.
Well, good morning guys. It's Tuesday morning, so we're not quite 24 hours in, and I did the 3 rods on the bottom yesterday and spawned on 2 of them, and on the other one in the margin I used just the catapult and boilies. Anyway, between 10:30 and 10:45 last night I got a single bleep, and there was a lot of bats out, and I thought it was a bat had probably hit the line because I've not got the tips down, and then I got a bit of a drop back, so I went out to investigate, and then it just roared off, and had a, I don't know, a fairly substantial fish on it. It was taking line for a little bit, and then it suddenly started charging towards me. I was going to shout John, but I was too busy because it was trying to pick up my right hand rod. Anyway, I got it all the way in, literally a rod length out, and the rig came out of its mouth, and I very rarely lose fish, so it was a bit of a shame. It had a right old set of shoulders on it, so it's quite a big 30 I think, if not more, and so it was a hell of a shame that, because that would have been a great start, you know, one on the surface and then one on the bottom, but it is what it is. The weather's changed and the wind's changed direction, and it's blowing away from us. I was hoping to get another chance on the surface fishing, but seen a couple of fish and then they just meandered off. So I don't know what the best option is. I'm probably going to try zigs for a while, and I'm going to do some boilies trimmed down so they look like a mixer and fishing just under the surface, and perhaps 2 feet under. And give that a go on a couple of rods, and then get back to you and let you know how it's shaping up. But yeah, a bit disappointed. I was hoping to have something nice to show you, but you know, this is real. And the other thing to bear in mind is I've not fished here for, I don't know, 16 years, something like that, and it's completely changed. So unlike the guys that fish it a lot, you don't know the marks on the bottom, so you've not got the wraps to suddenly get on a shallower feature or something. And so I'm going back through a learning process really, because no matter how long you've been doing it, you still have to relearn things, and you do suddenly sit there and think, am I getting this right? Because you've got that many things that you could potentially try. It's rounding on the winning formula, and I'm going through that process at the moment actually. And you do every time you go to a new water, no matter who you are, it's always the same sort of rounding on the winning method. So talking about methods, I'm tempted to put one out on a method as well, so my mind's in a quandary at the moment. So I suppose it's interesting for people to see how your mind process works when you're working things out, but yeah, with the weather changing so much and the wind changing and, you know, the sun going away, it's a bit of a strange one, but I'll work it out, and hopefully we'll have something to show you before we end the session. So catch you later.
Right, I want to quickly go over my long, best part of 25 years, I guess it is, association with Manor. It's 27 years of just a mental calculation of then and now and how it's evolved. It's quite a fascinating process. I was going to write about it in the book actually when I wrote a book, and somehow or other it never got included in the chapters, but probably next time. But it's amazing to see it, how it's matured. I still can't believe it. This bank here's got trees that are probably best part of 40 feet high. And when I used to fish it, it was just bare grass. I guess I last fished it seriously around 2004, something like that, 2005. So it's 20 years ago. But I started in 1995, and first time I ever came, obviously it was, I clocked a few catch reports in the Angling Times and in Carp Talk, I think it was.
And I thought, that sounds interesting. So a group of pals and myself, I had a fishing tackle shop then. We thought it's worth a go. So we came down, 3 or 4 of us. It was quite busy, and it used to have a big arena at the back, a big gravel workings, and I was always okay at long range fishing. And straight away I was sizing it up, thinking I want to fish tight up against that gravel there. It's an obvious feature. So I climbed a few trees, and when I got quite high up in the poplar trees with my glasses on, I could see the dark shapes of fish at the back of the gravel. And it was about 3 feet, 4 feet deep. There was like a semicircular area that the fish must have thought they were safe in, and they're all milling about. And then there was like a bar in front of it, so it was almost like a semicircular, almost like paddling pool that they were dabbling around in. And I remember an opportunity came because the wind was coming over the back of the gravel bar, the arena as we called it. So I actually cast over the top of one of the arms, and my line bellied round the corner. So I was almost like bananaing round into the sanctuary area. And I got away with it. Anyway, I had, out of the blue, I got a screaming take, and I had a fish called the random linear. So that was my first ever fish from this place. And then shortly afterwards, I had the box common. So they were the 2 of the well-known fish that became more well-known. And I lost one as well. So that fired us up, you know, the cracking fish for that sort of period in time. I think they were 28 and 26. I think the random was £28 then, 28.12, something like that. Anyway, that fired us up, so we started a campaign, and we used to come down quite regular, and it became a great big hotbed for northern anglers coming down to Linear. And it kind of set a trend really, and before you knew it, it was in all the press. And you know, this place had some of the biggest fishing that you could get to on a day ticket in England. There was Popeye, which was a 40. There was I can't remember the names of some of them. I think one was something like Paw Print or something like that. Before long, Terry Hearn appeared on the scene. Later on, Ian Chilcott, Chile, came down. Keith Jenkins, I think Dave Lane was accompanying him. It became a bit of a who's who. Adam Penning, my old mate Adam, he was down. Adam was always very successful as well. He used to go and fish in that little corner. He always used to sneak in there, putting particles in right under his feet and catching him less than a rod length out. Always successful. I'm watching people like Tom Maker on here, and it's staggering how good some of these lads are. I mean, that fella's a machine, you know, as we all know. But he's on a spot at the moment. He's got a shallow hump that's about 5 or 6 feet under the surface, and most of this lake's 12, 14 feet deep. So if you can find a pronounced feature that comes nearer the surface and the sun pops out and it's warmer in the summer, even in the winter, you're on a winner. But it's that lake knowledge, you know, if you're fishing somewhere all the time and you build that gain knowledge up from you and your fellow anglers, and you pool your knowledge, and you get to know the wraps to the features, so you're not marking it to death. It's a huge advantage. And it just shows that a campaign and spending time on somewhere is always well invested, no matter where you're fishing. To just turn up sort of a bit random, you know, there's a bit of luck involved if you have an instant bit of success, as we know it can happen. And quite often the big fish come like that, so it's not all bad news. Anyway, yeah, I mean, there's so many memories of this place. So that's what's happened in 20 odd years, you know. But yeah, I'm definitely going to come back, and it's quite fascinating to reminisce and think how it's evolved. So fair play to Linear Fisheries. They've obviously made a huge success of this lot. And funny enough, I was looking at St John's, as I was saying, and there was loads of swims vacant. So it's not all bad news. You can come down here and find spots, and you know, it's worth doing the journey. as is the current trend in these sort of things, we're going to have an update in the evening, and unfortunately nothing to report. Me and John have worked our whatsits off. We've tried all sorts. Unfortunately, we're in the deeper water, particularly John actually, and the fish are down the other end of the lake where it's shallower, and the wind's swung early this morning and been going that way, and the lads down there have been having a bit of a field day, and we can't move, unfortunately. With the format the way it is on Manor, you kind of get your swim and that's it, and it kind of goes against the grain for me, because I quite like a move if I need to, you know, like most people do, but it is what it is. So we can't move, so we've got to hope that things swing round and the fish come towards us, and you know, the wind swings this way. And I found, actually, the other thing I've got to tell you is John let it slip that there's a small, shallower area on the map, and I go, what map? Because I've not got a map of this place, you know. I probably should have done some homework and found out if there was one. But basically, he mentioned that there was a 7 foot deep sort of small bar over near the bank on my left. When I first got here, there was fish present, and I really didn't want to throw it to death, you know. Try and sneak a few, and nearly did it. I had some aborted takes on the floater, on the controller, as well as landing one, and then I managed to lose a fish last night, as I mentioned. So not great, but you know, I didn't want to disturb it and send those fish scarpering. So probably a mistake. In hindsight, it might have been better if I'd have got the marker out and you know, really searched the swim out and checked out everything. But it's a 50-50, that, innit? You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If all the fish bugger off and you've ruined it and they don't come back, you've missed your early chance. So you live and learn, but there's a point to remember. Try and do your own work and see if there's a map of the lake, and you know, do your prep. So lesson learned. Even at my age, you still make the occasional balls up. So anyway, hopefully we'll turn it around. We've only done one night and we're coming into the second night, so I think between us we've had a good think about stuff. I've gone on to some of the naturals, as has John. In fact, he bailed me out. He gave me some worm. I didn't have any, so thanks to John for that. Very generous, nice guy. So hopefully it'll work, and then I'll see you in the morning and we'll see what's happened then. So nice one.
When the lights go out, everything is clear. When the lights go out, I could finally see. When the lights go out, everything is clearer. When the lights go out, I could finally see what it's all about. Standing in the mirror, when the lights go out, it's you looking back at me. Hope, try your best to hold on to the rope. We all have a reason to let go.
Well, talk about making you wait, but I would wait. Well, I've waited 40 years. It's a new UK PB, 43 pounds 6 ounces of fully scaled Manor mirror. The rod absolutely tanked off. We were literally, me and Frank, talking about blanking, and it's ripped off. Played it in on my first ever time I've ever used worm on the rigs after Frank showed me. So if nothing else, I've come away with a lesson and a new PB. Absolutely blown away. Massive thanks to Frank. Can't put into words just how I feel. When it rolled, we saw it was a fully, thought it was 20. Then it turned into a 30. And then when we lifted the scales, Frank went, "Oh, it's not as big as you think." Giggling to himself. 43 pounds 6 ounces of immaculate Manor mirror. Right, some pictures, slip it back, and I'm going to drink a beer. I don't care. All right.
Morning, guys. Well, it's been a mixed bag this session. Partly went okay. Could have done with more fish. basically the fish were at one half of the lake. Me and John were at the end that was deeper, and some of the guys down the other end had a bit of a field day, but you can't win them all. We made the best of what we got, and included John having that absolutely mega PB, the scaly one, which made my trip for me as well. It's not often you see a long-term angler, you know, have a fish of that nature, and the most beautiful fish you've ever seen. Anyway, I thought you'd like to know what I used. One of the fish that I caught, one was on the surface, obviously, as we got here, and then I worked hard, tried everything I could, but my go-to rig at the moment, which I use probably about 90% of the time, is a slip D rig. And you may be familiar with it, probably a lot of you use it, but I just find it works. I can use it with tiger nuts, particles, plastic corn, boilies, you name it. It seems to suit everything. I use it a lot tipped with worm, and you use it with pop-ups, wafters, bottom baits. It's a great rig. So I use the slip D for, as I say, 90% of my fishing. One of the things that I do endeavour to do is when I use the shrink tube kicker, I don't just have it coming out of the back of the tube. I use a needle, a baiting needle, to thread it through so I get that liner effect. Still think that's relevant. So you can see it's always wanting to grip. Plus, I always, even if I'm using a bottom bait or a wafter, I put some weight on, and I can vary this. I've experimented using shots bigger than a swan shot actually, and I usually have it 2 inches away from the hook bait and the hook. I don't have it any closer than that. 2 inches is about right, and it causes that drag effect. Just pulls it down into the bottom of the mouth like that, and it enhances that. If you've got no weight there at all, it doesn't seem to grip as well, but that little effect is what I'm looking for. So give the slip D a go, and I mean, everybody likes using Ronnie rigs, I know that, they're very effective, but this is a really versatile rig, and it's what I am using for 90% of my fishing, as I say. Give it a twirl. Right, well, we're having an update, and it's we've done 2 nights, and it's the sort of second afternoon really. I suppose, I wonder if that's the right way to put it. Well, we're, you know, more than 48 hours in, I guess. And it's been an interesting day. Not for me, I've tried probably too many things. You know, when you're chasing your tail a bit, it's easy to overthink it. And even though I've been doing it all these years, you still have doubts about one thing or another. And if you're not careful, you can end up chasing when in actual fact the fish are not getting into the area. I'm fishing at the moment, and or clearly they're not feeding in the area, because I've got perfectly good baits and everything, you know, and I'm using some of the gear that the boys that have been catching on the other end probably using, not dissimilar. You know, I'm trying to tip in with worms, naturals. Anyway, we had a fantastic thing happen this morning. I was sat with my mate John, and we're fishing together, and he's doing the filming, like, you know, as well. And so he's got a bit of a job on. Never easy when you're multitasking like that, but he's pretty good at it. And anyway, one of his rows off, and it was a right old ding-dong, right mental battle, and you could see him sort of sweating a bit. And when it got close, both our eyes popped out. We're like, wow. And John didn't think it was as big as it was. I had other ideas. I thought, oh, it's a bit of a chunk that. You could see it across the shoulders. It was a huge fish. And he's been patient and plugged away like I have, you know, and he's been busy. And as we got it in the net, I says to John, I think that's a 30, that. And he says, do you think it's a 30? I says, yeah, I think it's probably a bit more. Anyway, it was almost comical. He come to lift it out. It's one of them where he almost did it with one hand and went in head first. Like, whoop! And hoisted it out, and I thought, oof, that's a good fish. So I said, in my mind, I was thinking it's at least an upper 30. Anyway, a bit more than that. It's probably one of the best looking fish I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a few, trust me. And that was ridiculous. And it was a new PB mirror for John. And it was 43.6. and it was just ridiculous. And he didn't believe it. I kidded him at first. I said it was smaller, and then when I finally read what was on the scales, he was like, it was fantastic. You know, see a fellow angler so delighted and chuffed with something. It's made our day actually. And even though it's not been great for me, you know, it started off good and then, you know, it's not developed. That one fish can change your whole sort of year round, in fact, you know, but today's his day, so well played, John, you know, fantastic. So I'll keep you posted. We've still got another night, and I've seen a few fish trickling into the back corner, so, you know, I'm still confident. I never stop till it's time to pack up, you know. So keep you posted and speak to you later.
Well, I'd just done a recap on the afternoon and was saying that nothing had occurred, and then pleased to see one peel off, and yeah, 23 pound exactly, and never been more relieved to get a 23 pounder. It's fantastic, lovely fish, like a little wood carving. So yeah, delighted with it, and I suppose the persistence paid off. There were fish coming in the corner, breezing around the margins, so I caught this right in very, very shallow water. I would say about 3 foot deep actually. So yeah, I'll put it down and I'll show you the other side. Oh, mind you, commons look very much of a muchness, but this is worth it. There we go. Water. Yeah. So at least it's starting to shape up a bit. So good stuff.
Hey, it's the last morning and we're packing up now, guys, but I tell you what, it's been a brilliant session. It might have not been action-packed or, you know, stacked with fish and all the rest of it, but we've worked our what's-its off, and we've still caught some fish. We weren't at the best end of the lake on this particular session, but you've got to sort of do what you're doing. On this place, you're pre-booking swims, and this was already the only ones available. So, you know, we didn't have that luxury walking around finding the fish, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter. You just make the best of what you've got, and yesterday was a brilliant day. I mean, I've just started working with Johnny, and we've had a real blast. It's been hysterical. We've enjoyed every minute of it, and he had a PB yesterday that was just like the most gorgeous fish you've ever seen. Probably in all my years of fishing, I've not seen many better, and for it to be a PB as well, I think it was it 43.6, fully scaled mega fish. That made the trip alone worth it for me. Anyway, we managed to catch a couple, had one off the top, caught one on the bottom, tried so many different things, probably too many things actually, but you know what it's like when you go back to a water that you've never been to for years, and it's all changed and everything's completely different. You've got young guns like Old Maker and that, you know, that are here regular and they know it like the back of their hand, and you've got to sort of turn up and relearn it all really, but that's part of the process. So, you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, it's still got to be done, the work, and can't emphasise that enough. And what I do is I round on the winning formula. Sometimes you crack it straight away, sometimes you have to work your way through lots of different things, but you get there in the end. It's just a question of, you know, how much you absorb, and also doing your homework as well. Remember that about some of the features and some of the areas of the lake that we actually found out about. You know, there's humps that come up within 5 feet of the surface and surrounded by deep water. Always a good thing to look for, especially when the sun's popped out after all the rain we've had. Anyway, probably rambling on a bit much. It's been brilliant, and we're going to do a lot more of this, and I'm going to see you soon, and I hope you've enjoyed this little film that we've done. So take care till next time.